Hey guys, hey Drugon here. I'm feeling good. I've got my Meruem shirt on and I'm here to bring you a special video. The top 10 Hunter x Hunter 2011 episodes. Now, Hunter x Hunter 2011 is a series that has heights that no anime can compare to. The heights in 2011, especially in the Chimera Ant arc, stand alone in animation. So before I get into this list, I want to give some honorable mentions. Some episodes that I really wanted to put in there, but I just couldn't. Even though there's only 148 episodes, this was a very difficult list to make. So starting off the honorable mentions, at number 3 we've got episode 148, the final episode of Hunter x Hunter 2011. In this episode, Gon meets Jing, and they're having a bit of a reunion. And there's this really nice vibe in this episode. There's this feeling of nostalgia, of satisfaction, and of progression. And at the end, we get to see all the main characters of what they're up to. And the music, the animation, the quotes. Enjoy the little detours in life, because that's where you'll find the things more important than what you want. There's so much in this episode. I love the setup for the Dark Continent, of course. Lots of the exposition was great. There's, Gon talking about Jing to Kite and kind of pouring his heart out. And I thought that was very nice and sweet. So yes, I have this as my third honorable mention. So, on to the second honorable mention. I've got episode 140. Now in episode 140, Jing and all of the Zodiacs are there. And they're doing, the election to figure out who's the new chairman. And Leorio just comes in and he's like, Jing, oh, I have some things to say to you. And he starts pressuring Jing, why haven't you seen your son? Like, who cares about this whole thing? Gon's what's important. He's your family. And Jing's being a dickhead, He's saying everything that we ourselves don't want to hear. He's like, has Gon said Gon wants me to see him? And Leorio was like, even if he could, he can't. And he gets pissed. And then we see him use his Hatsu. He's got this teleportation ability where he punches Jing in the face. And I thought that was amazing. That was the most hype moment in the series, in the sense of not just overall hype, but in the sense of, yes, my guy Leorio. Because Leorio did what we all wanted to do in that moment. And that made the scene so amazing. And then, of course, everyone's reaction in the crowd. Oh yeah, Leorio! And he almost became the new chairman. So I thought that was awesome. I love that. I'm really sad I couldn't add that in the top 10. And of course, the first honorable mention is episode 118. In this episode is the finale of Knuckles' battle against Yuppie. And we see lots of the character development for Yuppie. He's deciding, okay, I've got this anger. I was made as a creature of anger. I explode when I get angry. How can I be smart about this uncontrollable emotion? And he starts figuring it out and he baits Knuckle in. He gets angry as if he's about to explode. Knuckle goes in and he has this flashback. There's the flashback of, your final moments alive, and Yuppie just comes back and you're thinking, oh no, Knuckle's gonna die. And bang! Lightning comes from the sky. Killua's there and he's saying, I'm sorry for what's about to happen. I just need to let off some steam. And Godspeed arrives. His new transformation. This is the equivalent of Goku doing Super Saiyan for the first time against Frieza. Like, it is that hype. Overall hype-wise, nothing compares to this in the series. This was crazy. I had to battle so hard between this and my number 10 spot for which one I was going to put at 10. But overall, I decided that just that one moment can't get it into the top 10. So, on to the top 10. The big boys, the big leagues. What are the 10 best episodes of Hunter x Hunter 2011? Well, at number 10, I have episode 16. Now, this might come as a surprise to you. Episode 16, of course, is during the Hunter exam. This is where Gon's hunting down Hisoka, and Hisoka has that moment where he just reveals his Nen, which we don't know about at the moment, so just revealed as his blood lost. And you see this aura of just death creeping off him. This is the moment in the series where I realized I like Hunter x Hunter. This moment made me really think, wow, this series is something else. Just the way the entire vibe changed, the way the animation changed, the way the music changed, the way just everything about it made it feel so scary. And you see that moment where Gon's shaking. And Gon throughout the whole series has been shown as a prodigy, as someone that's fearless and that does things others won't. You know, at the first episode, we see him jumping over the boats to catch on to the sailmen. And then Gon and, Killua and Leorio are like, if we weren't there, you would have died. And he was like, yeah, but you were. And here we see him completely shaken, completely broken. We see him tailoring Hisoka. Hisoka's there like, almost looking like a meth head, like so just out of it, just killing person after person. And Gon gets Hisoka's badge. It's that moment of, oh, he sees me now. And Gon's running. And I thought, it's the intensity of it. Of course, we get the payoff that, of course, he was being hunted himself. And he finally gets, the poison injected in him. And then Hisoka saves him. And Hisoka gives him the badge. And Gon's like, I don't want to take it. And Hisoka just pummels him. And I thought that there's so many, like, on the edge of your seat moments. Like, you're going from high to low, to high to low, to high to low. And I think this is why this episode gets on this list. Even though, story-wise, characterization-wise, it's not as strong as the others. I think just for that alone, just the enjoyment, the experience of the episode, the intensity, it gets into the top 10. So, my number 9 episode is episode 47. You might be thinking, number 9? But yeah, Kurapika versus Uvogin. Now this episode was crazy. The Madhouse, they cooked on this episode. Oh boy, did Madhouse cook. The animation was amazing. We got to see this powerhouse of Uvogin versus the intellect of Kurapika. We see Kurapika's surprise of Uvogin's intellect. And then we see that final moment where Uvogin's trapped. He's been beaten. And Kurapika uses his judgment chain on his heart. And he says, Uvogin, sell out your friends. Tell me what you know about the Phantom Troop's abilities. And he says, go to hell. And he dies like that. And I thought this was very sad. I think from the combination between the hype and the excitement of the fight and how great the choreography was, to the sad, just depressing reality that Uvogin really was a good guy. He's not a good guy in the sense of morally, but just in his spirits. You can always do things which are bad with a good intent. It's called being delusional, right? I could go and hit someone with this Fanta bottle, and I can think I'm doing a good job because I think that person's a bad person. And in reality, they're a good person. So it's all about perspective. And I thought that us going into the mind of Uvogin in that moment, us having learned about Uvogin, made the payoff just hit so hard. Also, the way the animation went black and white, and he fell to the ground, and then Kurapika's there just digging his grave, and we get this shot of half of his face submerged and his eyes wide open. And it's like, wow, this series, this is dark. This isn't your average shonen. So yes, okay, that was a bit of a depressing note to end on, and I'm about to go on an even more depressing notes. On number 8, I have episode 85. Now this episode is when Kon, Killua, and Kite are advancing through the NGL, and they're looking unstoppable. They're the trio. They're the 3 musketeers of Hunter x Hunter. They're just taking everyone out. Chimera Ant captains, legions. They're just walking through everyone, and they're getting close to the Queen until Neferpito senses them. Kite has this moment of... It's the moment where Kite is so shook. It's the first time we see that in the series since episode 16 with Hisoka's bloodlust. And there's this moment of severe, because we got lulled into a false sense of security. So the moment where he has this realization that, he forgets about everything. He is fully on fight or flight. He's just, gone, Killua, get out of here. And then, poof, his arm's gone. Pito's there. Her aura is suffocating Gon and Killua. Killua knocks him out and they run off. She kills Kite, and then this moment where Killua is reflecting, we got too cocky. We were too comfortable. And I think this is real because we all have those moments in life. I have those moments a lot, where things are going well, something goes wrong, and you're crushed. You're so devastated by it, you can't even look at what you did right before you got there, because the crushing defeat is just so large and so overwhelming and difficult to process. And we have this moment where Netero comes, of course, with Morel and Nov, and you see their auras, you see the 100 type Wadi Satva of Netero, and he's like, how do you think we will do, Killua? And Killua's like, you won't even make it to the king. I thought, ooh, that was a crazy moment. And then, of course, you got Meruem saying, you know, Nen battle, da 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 da. And it kind of brings a sense of eeriness for the next episodes. At number 7, I've got episode 35. Now, episode 35 is the preparation for Gon versus Hisoka. This is when they're both in the changing rooms. They're both, you know, doing their shoes. They're getting ready. And the announcer's like, we're going to have Gon versus Hisoka. And the crowds are going crazy. And we have this small moment before reflection from Gon, you know, readying himself up, you know, thinking about why he wants this fight. And then when the fight starts, the animation. This is a bold statement, but I think the animation at the end of episode 35 is the best in Hunter x Hunter 2011. And not only that, I think it's some of the best animation ever. I think it rivals Demon Slayer. Like, that's how good I think it is. Like, genuinely, it feels like it's happening at 144 hertz. But no, this is just 30 frames per second. Some insane animation. And we get this, all of a sudden, this fight starts, and this speed, this fluidity, everything was done so perfectly. And I think the end of the episode alone makes it at number 7 on the list. If the fight continued and had that level of animation, which, yeah, the fight between Gon and Hisoka was great, but it never reached the heights of the end of episode 35, then I'd probably have this number 3 maybe. But yeah, anyway, I thought this was great. I thought just the anticipation, the rearing excitement, I think it deserves this spot, and I'm pretty happy with this placement. So, at number 6, I've got episode 52, going from one hype episode to an even hyper episode. This is where Zeno and Silva are going around the building, and Zeno is, of course, using his N to see where the enemies are, and they're finding dead assassin after dead assassin. They're like, oh yeah, this guy's using a Ben's knife, oh, that was a clean hit. And then we get this anticipation where Crollo's in this room. We know Crollo's there. And Kurapika's opening doors, and Zeno and Silva are opening doors. And at one point, the opening doors like collide together, and you're thinking, either Killua is going face to face with Crollo, which we've just seen Killua just wipe out Uvogin like he's nothing, or it's Zeno and Silva against Crollo. And it's Zeno and Silva. And you've got this moment where Crollo's eyes are just deaf. He's staring them down. And we find out why. Zeno and Silva talk about, you know, what happened between them in the past, you know, give us, you know, a little catch up. And apparently Silva had killed a member of the Phantom Troop in the past 2 years ago. And he was saying, oh, this was difficult. And we get this moment where they're all fighting, great animation, great choreography, just amazing. And then we're also getting this intellectual battle between Zeno and Crollo, when Crollo is trying to steal Zeno's ability, and Zeno is trying to figure out Crollo's Hatsu. And it was amazing. Afterwards, at the end, you know, Zeno realizes, oh shoot, you know, Crollo's tough. You know, Silva, if you have to kill me, kill me. And we got ended on this cliffhanger of Silva using his powerful, this Nen Blast Zetsu. You know, Nen Blast, not Zetsu, Hatsu ability, where the whole building shakes and we see Crollo's face submerged in this light, and we're thinking, what happened? And it just ends. I thought the anticipation, I thought just the pacing, to be honest, I thought the pacing was great. Because I thought that the fight sped up and then slowed down to let us know, and then sped up again. And some other fights in Hunter x Hunter, like for instance, Killua versus Yuppie, I talked about that earlier. I thought the pacing of that could have been done better, because I thought there was too much dialogue to explain Godspeed in proportion to the amount of fights there were. Like, you know, Killua could have hit, you know, Yuppie a few times, and then a bit of dialogue happens, and then it continues, which is what happened in this fight. And I thought it was the perfect balance between exposition and action, the perfect balance between telling us and showing us. So I thought this was a masterpiece. I thought it was amazing. Honestly, the only thing that went wrong in this episode was you just didn't get more of it. But yeah, now it's really onto the episodes that are 10 out of 10. Really, all these episodes coming up from here are 10 out of 10. Like, genuinely, you can't really find flaws in these episodes. Overall, these next 5 are going to come down to personal preference. So I'm just letting you know now, all the ones above, I've been able to be relatively objective, but here it's difficult since they're all so good. So, entering the top 5, we've got episode 111. Woo! Start of the palace invasion. Go! Everyone goes through Nova's portal, and at the exact same time, Netero and Zeno go down from the sky using Zeno's dragon drive. Neferpitou senses them. She releases her Zetsu, and she gets all her aura into a Hatsu to attack them. She flies into the air. Netero, bad move, little ant. We get Netero's backstory. It's amazing. Man, this episode is crazy. The hype in this episode is up there with any episode ever. Not just that, but I thought that having all of that happen, then the backstory of Netero was great. Because it got our hearts racing, and then it got us to actually pay attention to the backstory, which I thought was very good because we are attentively waiting, is it going to end? Is it going to end? Is it going to end? And it really shows us, because in this thing, we just saw him whack about Pitou, but we saw kill Kite. We saw Pitou was on a different level, and Netero was just like, bah! So it was great. We saw just some context for how that's the case, just how many years Netero took to get to this level. And I thought it was just amazing, just everything about it. It really played on our sense of when he's showing us the clouds and we don't know what's in the clouds, and then we suddenly see both of them. Oh, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you got the start, of course, when they're leaving and Gon's eyes just darken. There's so many little things it did to set up the next episodes and to really get us in the mood for the palace invasion. And I think it was the perfect start to probably the best moment in Hunter x Hunter. I mean, of course, the Succession Contest arc is probably, in my opinion, going to be the best arc in the series. But really, the palace invasion, if I had to show anyone any part of Hunter x Hunter isolated, it would probably be the palace invasion, to be honest. So, starting off the top 4, at number 4, we've got episode 131. And now, for the majority of Hunter x Hunter fans, this is the best episode in the series. And I understand why. It's incredible. We've got Gon's just depressiveness, turned to anger, his transformation into his adult form on the condition that he can never use Nen again. We've got Pitou's remark in the English subversion, of course, which it's not accurate to the manga when she's like he's equal to the king. Well, yeah, that's not actually canon, but in the context of the episode, that's what happens and that's what we're shown. So I'm including that as well. So I think the hype of, oh shoot, Gon could maybe be the one that takes down Meruem. That in your head is a very real possibility, considering the context. Of course, you got Pitou's loyalty, her desperation, and we see just Gon beat her to death and just continue to beat her to death. And then we've got Killua as arriving. He's thinking, what's happening? It's just these big explosions. Which one of them is it? And then Killua arrives, and Gon looks at him, and he's just there crying. It's a moment that really hurts because the whole moment had been building up to this whole dynamic between Gon and Killua just breaking apart. This was soul crushing. You can see this moment where Killua is trying to think, what's he done? What's he done? What's he done? Gon loses concentration. Pitou's post-mortem Nen arrives, and she's more powerful than ever after death. She takes Gon's hands, and then Gon just goes crazy and just beats her to death. And he's just there, and he's loading up this massive Jajan-ken, and Killua's face. We see Killua's face go to white, and he's like, Gon! And Gon's and he's just crying, and it's just the explosion, the forest breaking apart. We don't know what happened. Of course, we had the intimate moment between Gon and Killua, and Gon said, I'm happy. I can go out like Kite now. And it really showed us the lengths that Gon's got extremes. He's a poor boy. He's, of course, been abandoned by his father. Kite was the person who met him on the island. Kite was the person that told him, your dad's still alive. Kite's, everything to him. Kite is Gon's dad. I don't care what anyone says. Kite is Gon's dad, man. So just seeing his dad die and seeing how helpless he was about it, seeing how all his hopes been gone, we see just the length of the extreme he's gone to. And it's honestly, I can't even find the words. It's just one of those episodes that you just have to watch it to know. And everyone that's watched it knows as I know that you know. Yeah, I know we've all got goosebumps right now. So, going from one emotional scene to the most emotional scene in the series. At number 3, I've got episode 135, Meruem and Komugi's death. Now this episode broke me apart. You know, it was the only episode in Hunter x Hunter where I was bawling with tears. I was crying so much. It was just this moment where the king realizes he's dying, and he's just like, for one moment, I just want to see her again. She's the one that helped me. She's the one that saved me. She's the one that got me out of this maniac mindset, this depressing, non-existential, you know, lack of self-identity. She made me realize who I am. And you see her and Meruem. We see Meruem's change. We see how soft and gentle he is with her. We see that, you know, of course, back and forth. And we get this moment where Komugi is just saying, am I allowed to be this happy? Like, no one's ever been this happy. No one's ever been this nice to me before. And it really just, it's heartbreaking. And then, of course, you've got the dark reality setting in. Meruem saying, you have to leave because I'm going to die. And a refusal to leave. Just that moment, the moment where they're both in this animation where it's like a golden scenery where they're both there in paradise. And it's heartbreaking. And at the end, we see the whole screen goes black. Meruem's like, Komugi, are you there? Komugi, you there? He's gone blind. He's slowly dying. He's saying, I'm really tired. And she's like, I'll never leave. And we get this flash to Meruem's death and her saying, good night, Meruem. I'll join you soon. Yeah. What an episode. So, at my number 2 spot, I've got episode 116, Gon's breakdown in front of Pito. Now, this was after the Gon and Hisoka fight, the best animated scene in the series, and the voice acting never got better than here. I would argue this is the best voice acting in anime as a whole. The emotion of Gon's voice, the animation in his face, the desperation, this feeling of how, I don't understand, why, I refuse to understand. And we just see Gon breaking down throughout this episode. We see this turmoil, and it's honestly just, it's shocking. It's the kind of episode where you watch it and you go, and your jaw never goes back to normal. Of course, you got Killua who's there trying to be logical, and Gon saying, of course you can say that, Killua. This means nothing to you. And we see this break Killua, like this destroyed Killua. And of course, we see Gon getting destroyed by his powerlessness. In his mind, that was the only saving grace. No matter what happened, I was going to get her back for Kite. And he couldn't. He was there just bamboozled. This was what he was holding on to. He was holding on to this moment, this fight. This was his therapy. This was his, this was the only thing. This was his life support. This was everything to him. And it got ripped away. And he's just sitting there. And there's no words to explain how he feels. He's feeling, as the narrator would say, an indescribable emptiness. Just like Killua was. But this one's fueled by intense self-loathing, self-hatred, and hatred in general. This isn't the same Gon we saw. Gon came to find a monster, to fight a monster. Gon became the monster. And it was scary, the one where he was looking at Komugi, that us, the audience, had grown to like, and he's saying, now, get up, or I'll kill her. And we're thinking, whoa, God, whoa, God, whoa. Are you still the main protagonist we know? What's happened to you? And yeah, I thought, honestly, even though it's not my number 1 spot, I think this is the best anime episode ever, all time. And you're thinking, if you're saying this is the best anime episode ever, how is it not your number 1? And in fact, there's just one scene from my number 1 which got me so hyped. I can't, like, not just hyped, but it got me so it made me feel a sense of almost patriotism towards Hunter x Hunter that, you know, I just had to put it number one. Surprisingly, my number one spot is episode 71. This is during Greed Island, and this is during the Dodgeball game. Now, the episode starts off with Razor going all out. He gets all his Nen puppets and absorbs them back into him. He gets this massive aura boost, and then he just whacks the ball. And then Killua, Hisoka, and Gon all get in a formation where Gon's there to catch the ball. Killua's there, and he's being incredible because he can't be too soft or too hard. He's there between the two, and Hisoka's like trying to slow it down with his bungee gun. And they succeed. And we got this moment where Gon realizes, okay, we're outmatched. In the most Gon way possible, pre-Chimera Antok, he goes, okay, let me just go crazy. Let me go so all out. It's stupid. And he uses every single bit of his aura, everything he had stored up into one attack. His aura spikes. It's going crazy. The whole room is shaking. And Razor's looking at him and he's like, he's a monster. Whew. He sure is your son, Jing. And then the thing is, at this moment, we see Killua, who's, you know, there. And Gon's like, you know, Killua, watch out, I'm going to go all out. And Killua's like, if you don't go all out, I'll smack you. And in that moment, I was like, yeah, go on, Killua, let's go. This is the guy. This is life. This is the energy you need. This is the people you need around you. This is people reaching their full potential. You've got this incredible animation where Gon's like, yeah, and he charges up his Jajang Ken, which is an absolute missile. The music, you know, changes. And it's so hype. The animation is, oh, it's perfect. And he hits the ball, and it goes towards Razor, and Razor's like, this is harder than anticipated. And he doesn't even manage to you know, deflect it. He barely manages to hit it back, and it's going back towards Gon. And everyone's like, Gon, you need to get out of there. Because, of course, Gon's gone and powered it up. So it's still extremely powerful. And Gon just isn't phased. He's staring down this ball coming towards him. And Razor said, you know, for the little I know of Gon, he won't have dodged because that's not the way he is. Gon's someone who wants victory. And he doesn't just want to win. He wants absolute victory. And in that one moment, you know, had like... it was almost like an inner orgasm. So much my brain was excited. I couldn't compute the hype I was feeling. And Gon passes out. Of course, Hisoka then catches the ball and he gets his hands all twisted with his bungee gum and they beat Razor. And man, I've almost lost my voice there. But that's how exciting it was. That sequence, or those sequences I should say, are the best for me in the series. And when I look back at Hunter x Hunter 2011, that anime, that moment, that episode is what I think of first, before anything else. So that's why I've got it in my number one spots. And you know, of course, your list will be different to mine. Please put your list in the comments down below. I love reading the comments. I love talking to people in the comment section. Because it really does like open my mind. And I actually learn a lot, just from different perspectives. Because of course me, right, I've got a very unique perspective of the series, as do you. So I'm really interested to see your list, your top 10s, your honorable mentions. Maybe have some discussion in them. Maybe it'll change my list. Maybe I'll have to make an updated list myself. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. This was Heijugon rating the top 10 Hunter x Hunter 2011 episodes. So I hope you've all had a good day. And yes, this was Heijugon. Peace out.